Well, hello, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, sorry, almost got it. YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, and I think Facebook too. I see the Facebook icon is to where I'm streaming. So, a little bit of an interesting day today. My youngest had speech therapy. Normally, I do a coffee talk with him because, let's be honest, he brings in the views. He has a very cute face. So, and he's a ham on the camera. But so I go, I take care of that. I come back, and one of my dogs takes an interest into something that he sees the on the driveway, and I see him look at it, and I'm like, oh, what's that? So if you're wondering who I am, I'm Frank Lavinia. Catch me on the socials at Frank Digs Data. Also at the following URLs, franksworld.com, datadriven.tv, and impactquantum.com. By the way, you can also catch some of my work here at the Red Hat AI YouTube channel. And wanted to show you an interesting use case for ChatGPT, and one that I don't know how common it is. So let me show you this. So I go to, again, I mentioned the dog had sniffed something out, and this little guy was laying on the asphalt of the driveway. And so the first thing I did was I picked him up because I didn't want any of my dogs eating him, right? I also didn't want any like mice or whatever to get him or whatever. And so the ground was a very vulnerable place. So because we were doing some work outside, the ladder was already there. So I just put him up on the ladder shelf. And then I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this guy because I literally don't know. Last time we had a bird kind of show up on the, actually last two times it was a different house. So I really didn't know exactly what to do. So this was, my car's messy, in case you're wondering. So I ended up, there's a little picture of the guy. So what I ended up doing actually, and I will share that screen, is I didn't know what to do exactly. So this was really cool. I will share this Chrome tab. Hopefully you can see it. So I took a picture of it, and I was like, can you help me identify what type of baby bird this is? And it tells me this appears to be a baby starling. And it tells me why it thought that. And if you found this bird on the ground, it may have fallen from its nest. And it says, if you're looking for help to help it, let me know, which of course I was. First I was going to identify it. Then traditionally I just would have done a Google search for wildlife rescue or something like that. But I'm like, yes, I am looking for help. And it basically gave me a list of things to do. And basically, is it injured? Didn't look like this. So I was going through this. I really can't do this, but what I really wanted to do, I was going to do this, but I figured the best thing to do was to call a wildlife rescue or rehabilitator. So it even told me, search for your city. And I was like, if you want, I can tell you, basically where you live. And it did. It got me in touch with the local organization, and I dropped the little guy off not that long ago. So, and then I was like, they said, do you know what type of species it is when they gave me the form to fill out? And I was like, well, ChatGPT said it was a starling. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, I took a picture of it and said to ChatGPT, that's actually how I found you guys. And they're like, that's a first. They were just amazed that AI could do that. So I don't know. I thought that was not expected today. But the best things often happen when they're not expected. So I think that's pretty useful. It's an interesting use case for AI, for computer vision, image recognition, et cetera, et cetera. But the other thing I want to talk about today is consistency. So because of where I had to drive, I was listening to one of the more recent Joe Rogan podcasts in the car, and I guess I lost cellular connection for some reason, and it actually played the very first episode of Joe Rogan. And if you listen to it, it's awful. And I heard this advice a long time ago. And I often give out this advice like the first whatever you do is going to be awful, right? The first podcast, the first YouTube video, the first you name it. My first YouTube video was awful. My first live stream was horrendous. But we don't often get to see, the professionals when before they were professionals, right? No one has ever, well, I would say only a handful of people ever saw Michael Jordan's first basketball game, right? And supposedly he was kicked off his junior high team or something like that. So we see people when they're at the 2 millionth iteration, 2000th iteration. I think in the terms of podcasts, I think Joe Rogan's up to 2,400 shows or something like that. So I think that's very interesting. So I listened to that and I was like, wow. And I was watching a live stream the other day from a guy named Dean Graziosi, and he was talking about consistency, the power of consistency, blah blah blah. So so if you've been following me on LinkedIn, which is where I mostly post it, I do a lot of stuff with Pluralsight. I have been a huge fan of Pluralsight for many, many years, and I set out to hit 1,000. Actually, not that far from it now, and they are actually going to have a little blog post about it. So, spoiler alert. But you're going to hear a little bit more about that. But I also wanted to point out that 973 is an area code in North Jersey, and I joked that when I hit certain milestones, whether it was 201, which is another North Jersey area code, 212, which was New York City, 718, which is Queens and the Bronx, Staten Island, I believe as well. So all these like little milestones, I was like, that's funny. And I was like, well, I guess the last area code I'll hit here is 973, and today is day 973. And I think back to that whole notion of iteration, right? Consistency, right? This is now a habit for me, right? I will do this every day. Originally, kind of started off as let's see how many days I could get if I could do a year in a row. I think my first record was 374 days. I actually missed a day. And then when I got a Pluralsight account again, when I joined Red Hat, um, or shortly after I joined Red Hat, I started up again. I made it to 80 days. There was a break, and I was like, no, this time I'm going to do it. So this time I did do it, right? So again, it's iteration, right? The first time wasn't. First time I made it 374 days, and originally I started saying I was going to hit 1,000 days because I just wanted to see. They've since fixed the site, but I wanted to see what the CSS would do because it was very odd. It would do odd things, I noticed, like in certain things. So we're going to find out in about 27 days exactly exactly what the CSS will do. They know it's coming, so maybe they fixed it already. I don't know, but you can bet your you know what I am going to stream live on that day when I get to 1,000. So just a quick live stream, and thank you for the comment. I appreciate it. Didn't when you start something, the best thing you could do for yourself is consistency, whether it's working out, whether it's learning, whether it's whatever. That's really the best thing for you to do. Speaking of learning, they don't pay me to sponsor them, but we're saying anything nice about them. But I'm a big fan of Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle is a great it's a great website. I will go over there now, and so they have games, but they also have books, right? And this is a really good book deal. Highly recommend this one. I'm in the middle of reading this one, and I always read like 2 or 3 books at a time. I started this one about a third the way through this one, and then a coworker of mine, shout out to you, Robbie, um, recommended um, recommended the AI engineering book, and it is spectacular to the point where I think I'm further along this one than I am on this one, right? So, but it's not just AI, right? They have a bunch of other stuff too. There's certifications, right? You can get a um, IT Pro certification through Cybex, right? They have all these like things here. Coding for the curious, modern backend web development, all sorts of other stuff too, comics, cartoons, et cetera, et cetera. But they also, if you click on software, they always have some interesting stuff here, whether it's language learning, whether it's like how to become a game developer. Get This actually looks pretty interesting. It's basically how to do this, um, how to build this in 2 hours with Python. I actually might get this actually. Um, because if I don't use it, my kids will use it. There's also Learn Game Dev. There's Sound Waves, Sound Unity Asset Pack. This looks pretty cool, right? So they have an actual castle, like assets and stuff like that, so you can set up these environments. And I mean, if I knew Unity better, or I had time with this, right, you can do all sorts of cool things. Though I bet with the quality of this, you could probably do some really good kind of cinematography type stuff, backgrounds and things like that. Motion packs, wireframe shader, cartoon effects. What is this thing? So you have like all these special effects and stuff like that. It looks a little cartoony, hence the name. Battleships. Oh, this looks cool. It's like sci-fi kind of spaceships and stuff like that, which, as I understand, you can also use these for virtual reality and stuff like that. And when you buy it, you get to support a charity. In this case, it's Girls Who Code. Speech recognition system. Oh, do tell. Tune Suburban. What's this? Okay, so if you want to make a little casual game, it's really cool stuff. Honestly, I wish I had more hours in the day. Cyberpunk City. Oh, that's cool. They had one the other day that was like a Miami club. It looks something like straight out of one of the Saints Row games, one of the earlier Saints Row games. So again, they don't pay me to shout it out, but I do because they have an awesome product and they give a lot of good money to charity. Definitely though, definitely check out the AI bundle because it is amazing. And here's another learning hack for you. They give you the books in EPUB and in, do I have my backpack down here? They give you an EPUB. So if you have a Kindle, you can just send to Kindle. And you also get them in PDF format, which means you can drop it into Notebook LM, right? So I'll many of you know my wife has the RTO, right? So I'm kind of taxi dad, especially during the summer when the kids have different activities and stuff. Actually, same when school's in. Anyway, you can drag and drop PDFs onto it, and you get a podcast. Thanks to Notebook LM, and I can listen to that in the car, right? So even if I'm driving, right, because there's typically not, let's just say that Red Hat AI Inference Server, right? Not a book on that yet, not yet, right? So not a lot of podcasts, not a lot of YouTube videos or whatever about that particular product that go into depth. Well, I can pull in all of the material on it and I can turn it into a podcast I can listen to in the car, right? Again, great learning hack. This is seriously one of the best times to be alive if you want to learn. And I actually recently saw it'll be on Frank's World later today, a video about how what happens to displaced workers, whether they're mid-career, whether they're late career, early career, like what happens to them, what do they do? But honestly, we live in the best. If you want to upskill, we live, and this is kind of spoiler to the Pluralsight article. We live in the single best time to be alive if you want to learn, right? All you need is an internet connection and the self-discipline to be consistent, right? And not go over to TikTok and look at stupid stuff, right? uh, which I think, as we're learning, is a bit harder than anticipated. But with that in mind, I've been going on for 15 minutes. I got some stuff I got to catch up on. But for now, oh, I see I have a chat. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Um, but in any case, I will see you all another time, and I'm going to play my fancy outro graphic. Maybe, just maybe, what I'll do is look at some of those Unity assets, and I'll come up with a cool cyberpunk outro. How awesome would that be? Have a good day.